You have selected a very lovely skirt for the challenge. But before starting the pattern work, it is wise to prepare a plan so that you will know how to proceed. First, analyze the creative elements of the design and write them next to the sketch for reference. Second, choose which of the pattern-making principle or principles that you would apply in creating the design pattern. Based on your analysis, lightly plot the lines on the pattern as shown on the sketch. If you observe that there were 5 spirals encircling the front and back skirt and that its length extends to mid-calf, you were right. If you chose the pattern-making principles 1 as a dart equivalent by noting that the dart excess was gathered along the waistline, you were correct again. If you chose principle 2, one-sided fullness, you were correct by noting that there were gathers on the top side of the panel. Principle 3, contouring, does not apply since there are no side seams to taper the skirt. How did the plotted patterns compare? You can now erase the pencil lines. It is suggested that you use style tape or straight pins to mark the location of the spirals around the dress form. Use the marking as a guide when plotting the front and back patterns. To start with pattern development, trace the full front pattern, then place the side seam of the back patterns to each of the front side seams and trace. Do not include the horizontal balance line. Add the necessary length to achieve mid-calf level. To establish the spiral section, mark a point midway between the back side seam and the first dart of the back pattern. On the other side of the pattern, mark 3 inches down from the center back and draw a connecting line touching the marks. Mark 4 inches up from the hemline on the right of the center back pattern and draw a parallel line with the first spiral style line. Touch the pause button, complete the pattern, and when finished, push play to continue. Divide the space between 2 spiral style lines into thirds and draw lines parallel to one another. Label the spaces 1 through 5 to help control the sequence. It is very important that you mark the notches exactly where shown. The notches include those that identify the center front and the side seam. The notches control gather distribution. Touch the pause button, complete the pattern, and when finished, push play to continue. The next step is to draw slash lines through the spiral sections. Notice that the slash lines are not drawn through section 1, which is part of the waistline. Slash lines drawn into the areas of dart excess should not be spread since the dart excess provides fullness. Draw angle lines through the slash lines where this occurs. Draw the slash lines as close to parallel as possible. Touch the pause button, complete the pattern, and when finished, push play to continue. The next step is to separate the spiral sections 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Spiral 3 is identical to spiral 4. Spiral 4 will be discarded before slash and spread begins. Spiral 3 will be cut twice to replace the missing 4th spiral. This will save time and labor. Once the patterns are separated, measure the length at the top edge of each spiral section and record the measurements on the pattern. Next, determine the amount of fullness desired, 1.5 times the measured length or 2 times the measured length. Touch the pause button, complete the pattern, and when finished, push play to continue. Spiral 1 does not require slash and spreading because the dart excess provides the necessary fullness for gathers. To determine how much space to allow between each slash line, measure the length at the top edge of the spirals. Determine the amount of fullness desired, 1.5 to 1 or 2 to 1. Slash to, but not through the other side, to create a hinge for spreading. Secure spirals 2, 3, and 5 as spreading is being done. Spiral 3 will be duplicated to replace spiral 4. Draw a blending line around the spirals before adding seam allowance of 1/2 inch. Be sure to mark all notches, including the side seams and center front, and mark both sides of the panels to control the fit. Draw a basic waistband to complete the garment. For guidance, see page 240 in the text. If a lining is desired, trace the basic front and back patterns, add length that is 1/2 inch shorter than the spiral skirt. These patterns are not illustrated. The lining pattern will have side seams, a center back, and stitched darts. It is suggested that the garment be cut in lightweight crepe, georgette, or chiffon. Stitch the spiral panels together by following the number sequence. Mark notches to control the distribution of fullness. You may buy or make a floppy flower or maybe a bow with hanging ribbons. The skirt should look lovely. Goodbye for now.